Stocks drift after a strong open ahead of the U.S. Federal Reserve monetary policy meeting today. Utilities and industrials outperform, while consumer durables as well as the financials lag in trade.
Hindustan Zinc declares a fourth dividend amounting to nearly 11,000 crore rupees, spelling a bonanza for shareholders, especially Vedanta and the government, who rake in 7,000 crores and 3,000 crore rupees respectively.
A tax blow in the budget pummeled the life insurance stocks, but a new policy regime and valuations are now providing comfort to analysts who are turning upbeat on this sector.
Bandhan Bank gains on a bid for its stressed assets and a senior appointment. Anupam Rasai embarks up on its big capex plan. Imami gets a buyback agenda boost, and Sonata Software its largest ever contract win.
Hello and welcome. You've tuned into Business Lunch. I'm Nisha Podar, and with me as always is my co-anchor Pavitra Parekh. So Pavitra, there is green on the screen, but I would say that the market is looking tentative but still positive. So it is 17,100 to 200 range in which the market has, Nifty 50 has really traded in the trading session today. And it is showing that caution and cautious approach ahead of the Fed Reserve meeting, which is going to be an important indicator on how things are going to shape up, whether there's a pause or a minor increase or an increase as had been indicated earlier. So all three will have different implications on banks as well as economies and global markets. So we have to really watch out for that. At the moment, Nifty 50 at 17,142 levels. Bank Nifty is the one which is in line with the key indices at the moment and is positive. And mid-cap index, that is the one. Mid-caps are seeing some bit of buying, almost 0.5% up in trade, and by a huge margin, it is outperforming the key indices and the blue chip counters today. Advanced decline ratio, because of the mid-cap participation and buying, is on the side of the green of the advances stock. And on my screen, in terms of contribution to Nifty 50, well, Bajaj Twins are doing well, but one mention on Reliance Industries snapped many days of losing streak yesterday, came up with a gusto and is maintaining the green momentum today. So therefore, Reliance Industries is also a key contributor to the market. So all in all, a cautious approach, but still with a positive momentum at the moment, Pavitra.
I mean, cautious, yeah, but we've come 60 points off the highs at a time when the Asian markets have not at all. So the Nikkei is still up 2%. Take a look at some of the other Asian markets and you'll see that they've been holding up just fine all through the morning. The Hang Seng market's up 1.8%, Straits is up 1.6%. These are just a few of them, but across the board, they're holding up quite well. The main, sort of pressure today as well in the markets has come from the Nifty Bank, where it's very split, right? So the PSU banks are doing well, but the private banks are really sulking in trade. So something like an SBI, Bank of India, Bank of Baroda, these ones holding up fine. But take a look, on the other hand, at something like an Axis Bank, you have HDFC Bank, Kotak Bank, and these are the ones which are seeing some cuts come through. So this is a space that I would watch. In addition to the Bajaj Twins, what's holding up is the insurance names today. In fact, this entire week has been quite good for the insurance, back up around 5% on, HDFC Life, SBI Life. These are just some of the names that I'm mentioning. Also on the downside, you are seeing pressure today, in addition to some of the private banks that I mentioned, on the PSU stocks. So something like an NTPC, ONGC seeing some cuts today. So that's what's really going on with the markets. We will talk more about that, of course. But let's kickstart the show by talking about the big cue that we are all watching. That is the Fed's policy decision, which will be announced tonight. We, of course, react to this tomorrow morning. So the Federal Reserve's commentary in the wake of the contagion fears will also be keenly watched this time around. While a 25 basis points hike is largely what is expected across the board, only 52% of the respondents to a CNBC Fed survey say that the Fed should actually go ahead and hike rates at this meeting. So CNBC's Steve Leisman is here to bring us all of the highlights from this survey. Steve. That is the word from Janet Yellen, and it is on the back of this that we saw that rally come through in the U.S. markets. But let's also listen in to Ashwath Damodaran of the NYU Stern School of Business as he speaks on the banking crisis and the expectations from the Fed later tonight.
What happened at Silicon Valley is it's a perfect storm. It's the collection of macro forces, with interest rates going up significantly and risk capital going to the sidelines, that effectively brought the bank down. The one thing that Signature, First Republic and Silicon Valley Bank share in common is they're a little unbalanced as banks. with Signature Bank, it was the dependence on cryptos and wealthy real estate developers. With First Republic, almost 70% of the deposits are uninsured. They cater to a wealthier group of investors. Their wealth management arm is very strong. So I think what this is a signal that if you have an unbalanced bank, a bank that's grown by catering to a segment of the market, it's more exposed than a more balanced bank. Notice how much the entire attention of the market is shifted to what the FOMC will do tomorrow. I think by giving that message, we've essentially told not just banks, but all players in this game that the Fed can keep rates wherever it wants it to. That's what led, I think, to the decision 2 years ago to take all those deposits and put them in long-term bonds. I mean, this was the duration mismatch made in hell. But the way I think banks comforted themselves was they said the Fed will never let the rates go to 4%, as if the Fed can actually control rates if inflation takes off. So I think it still remains true that inflation and the economy are going to drive what happens to rates, and the Fed's going to be a side player in this. So if people are expecting the Fed to bring rates down to 2%, they better hope again and think again, because it's not going to happen.
All right. So all those important comments coming in on what Fed may not do and the implications on the economy. All eyes would be on the FOMC meeting tonight. With that, we'll slip into a short breather on Business Lunch. But when we come back, we will get you.
Welcome back. You're still tuned into Business Lunch here on CNBC-TV18, and let's now bring you some important global updates. Chinese President Xi Jinping wrapped up his visit to Russia with the Ukrainian war and economic cooperation family on the agenda. The Kremlin has said that Putin and Xi Jinping held a thorough exchange of views on Beijing's peace plan, and the joint statement said that both of the parties have stressed that responsible dialogue is the best way forward for a sustainable resolution of the Ukrainian crisis.
All right, away from the international news, we at News 18 Network are excited to announce the third edition of Rising India, the most anticipated thought leadership forum in the country, where we bring together some of the biggest and the most prolific personalities to celebrate India's successes and the growth story. Now, the theme for this year's edition is Real Heroes, where we bring you the stories of some of the most extraordinary common people along with their uncommon achievements. And today, we bring to you the story of Professor Shivdarshan Malik, who through his innovation technique and innovative ways is using cow dung to make houses that are environmentally sustainable. Take a look.
Everybody has seen houses made of bricks, cement, and concrete. However, in the desert lands of western Rajasthan, bricks are now being made from cow dung, from which houses are being constructed. These houses are resistant to fire as well as water damage. They also remain cool during the sweltering summers naturally. This has been made possible by Professor Shivdarshan Malik and his unique thought process.
विश्व के अंदर ये जबरदस्त तरीके से ग्लोबल वार्मिंग, ये परिवर्तन मौसम का हो रहा है, इसको रोका कैसे जाए? कार्बन नेगेटिव जो टेक्नोलॉजीज हैं वो हमें आगे बढ़ानी पड़ेंगी। आज जब हम मकान बनाते हैं या हमारी जितनी भी फैक्ट्रियां हैं सभी कार्बन ही तो छोड़ रही हैं, लेकिन एक तकनीक ऐसी भी है जो हमारे बुजुर्गों ने काफी पहले बना ली थी। आज की जो मेरा केमिस्ट्री का नॉलेज है उसको मैंने उसमें मिला के, पुरातन विज्ञान में मिला के, तब ये एक नई खोज की और नई दिशा शुरू की जिसका नाम है गोक्रीट।
Our future demands that we move towards nature and work towards preserving the environmental balance. We already have visionaries like Professor Shivdarshan who are showing us the path. All we have to do is follow it.
Welcome back. You're watching Business Lunch. A quick look at the market. And yes, market has lost some ground in the last few minutes of trade. In fact, Nifty Nifty 50 and as well as Sensex both are on the flat line with a positive bias. Even Bank Nifty as well as mid caps have lost some ground. A major, kind of a thrust coming in some of the counters like the metals as well as consumers, which have seen some bit of sell-off, therefore the fall. All right, let's focus on the key takeaways from the Tamil Nadu state budget, and important ones are a long pending hike in real estate guidelines, values as well as an allocation towards metro rail projects and industrial parks, and renewed emphasis on social spending. Well, my colleague Shireen Bhan spoke to the Finance Minister P. Thiagarajan and began by asking him about the revenue deficit situation in the state. Let's listen in to a slice of that conversation.
I must admit that the 62,000 we inherited was the depth of the COVID crisis, so it was probably an exceptional year. But I must also state that for every year after the first incarceration of the former Chief Minister, Ms. Jayalalitha, for every year from 2014 till 2020, that is 1920, the government of Tamil Nadu had been having ever increasing revenue deficits. So there was a clear slippage of revenues from what used to be 9 to 10% of the GSDP down all the way to about 6% before the crisis, and then down to 5% after the crisis. We have rectified that some part of the way. We have brought it up to about 6.15% or so, and we still have a long way to go, as I've said in the budget speech. There's still a lot of revenue improvement that needs to happen. On the revenue side, we had probably some long pending reforms, in particular on the electricity tariffs, which had not been revised for a long time, and also on property taxes, which had not been revised in some cases for 20-25 years. So under the leadership of our Chief Minister, we were able to augment the revenues, not directly to the state, but to the electricity board and to the local bodies, which in turn help them provide better services to the consumers and effectively reduce some of our make-whole, kind of loss provisions by a few thousand crores. But the greatest probably improvement was that we have started to put controls, systemic checks and balances, improved audit, electronic monitoring. For example, many of our public sector enterprises had not been audited or not submitted accounts for many years. We have now put in an electronic platform where they have to submit the accounts immediately to the state, and we have strengthened the Bureau of Public Enterprises that looks into that.
And in terms of investments, every state announcing, Karnataka announcing an investment from Foxconn, Telangana announcing similar sort of MOUs being inked, and so on and so forth. What is the outlook for Tamil Nadu in terms of investments? Where do you hope to draw investments in from?
Yeah, I would say Tamil Nadu is already one of the most industrialized states, and particularly in the MSME sector and in the percentage of people or the number of people employed in manufacturing, Tamil Nadu is far ahead of most states. So, in fact, you saw the statistic, I think 40% of all women employed in the manufacturing sector in India, 40% are in Tamil Nadu alone. This is, again, testament to our empowerment of women. I think the potential is limitless. I was just at the conclave in Delhi where I agreed with former Niti Aayog chairman, Mr. Amitabh Kant, that this is India's moment, right? The global macro picture, both politically and economically, is such that India is kind of the cynosure of all eyes. People want to divest from China. The scale, both economically and demographically, of India is so high they cannot think anywhere else. It's going to be a big market, it's a reasonable market, and it has a huge talent pool. So India is a place that everybody wants to be. Now the question is, are we making it conducive for them? And making it conducive for them is not mostly about what discounts and what other things you give. It's about having the right talent pool. It's about having the right climate. It's about being welcoming, having the ease of doing business, the laws, the systems, the dispute resolution, all that workable and understandable and therefore calculatable risk-wise. This is the kind of overall context. And in fact, in Tamil Nadu, at my request, the Cabinet commissioned a study. What have all those people we gave incentives to, have they come here, have they delivered the results we expected, and what is it they think is the biggest factors driving their decision to invest here or build factories here as opposed to somewhere else. And all these variables that I told you, connectivity, infrastructure, talent pool, ease of doing business, global airports, ports, etc., all these feature a lot. So in natural terms, Tamil Nadu is in a good place. We need to be doing a lot more networking, a lot more marketing, a lot more connectivity. And I think that, while we've got a decent share till now.
All right, that is an important conversation. And remember, you can catch the full interview with the Finance Minister of Tamil Nadu at 5 p.m. only on CNBC-TV18. With that, we do need to wind down on this edition of Business Lunch with the news that the markets are pretty much at the low point of the day, only 25 points in terms of a gain. The Nifty Bank has seen a slide, holding up right now with a gain of just around 60 points. So 2 more hours of trade to go. So let's see how it moves from here. But thanks for tuning in. We have Mid Cap Radar coming up after this break.